The case today took place in 2008 in the village of Tian Zang, Shanghe County, Jinan City, Shandong Province. This was an exceptionally serious case in which the cunning and brutality of the perpetrator posed significant challenges for the police investigation. The prolonged investigation not only placed immense pressure on law enforcement, but also left unintended consequences for the community and the victim's family. The scarce clues and intricate details made the journey to solve the case a tense and breathless race. Stay with us until the end of the video to uncover the mysterious details and shocking truths behind today's case. Horrifying discovery in the locked bedroom. On an autumn morning, October 14th, 2008, in Tian Zang Village, Shanghe County, Jinan City, Shandong Province, Mr. Zhang, a 64-year-old man, stepped out of his house with a basket of fruit in hand. Today, he planned to bring some nutritious fruit for his 25-year-old daughter-in-law, Chen Xiao Mei. Her house was located only about 500 meters away from Mr. Zhang's. Upon arriving, he saw the front gate wide open and the main door ajar. This unusual sight made him pause for a moment. Then instinctively, he pushed the door open and quickly stepped inside. As he entered, he called out to his daughter-in-law, but the house remained eerily silent. With no response, Mr. Zhang walked through the living room to the kitchen and bathroom, but there was no sign of Xiao Mei. He began to feel anxious. Returning to the living room, he stopped in front of the small bedroom door belonging to Xiao Mei and her husband. He tried the door, but it was locked from the outside. In a rush, he circled to the backyard, hoping to find his daughter-in-law busy with something. But from the front yard to the back garden, there was no sign of anyone. The unusual quietness sent a chill down his spine. He took out his phone and called Xiao Mei, only to hear the ringtone coming from inside the locked bedroom. His heart tightened. The sound clearly emanated from the locked room. Sensing something was terribly wrong, he hurried to ask the neighbors, but everyone shook their heads, saying they hadn't seen Xiao Mei. They assumed she had just gone out briefly, leaving the door open. Trying to calm himself, Mr. Zhang decided to wait a bit longer. But after nearly an hour, Xiao Mei still hadn't returned. His unease grew unbearable. Unable to wait any longer, he decided to break down the bedroom door. The door burst open. At first glance, everything in the room seemed normal, but upon closer inspection, Mr. Zhang noticed small bloodstains on the floor and bed sheets. Fear surged through him. His eyes then focused under the bed, where a long object covered by a white blanket was protruding. With trembling hands, he slowly lifted the blanket. The horrifying sight struck him. Chen Xiao Mei lay motionless under the bed, her body cold and lifeless. Mr. Zhang screamed in anguish and panic. His daughter-in-law had died under unclear circumstances. The incident was immediately reported to the authorities. Upon receiving the report, the Shanghe County Criminal Police promptly dispatched officers to the scene. They instructed Mr. Zhang and others not to approach the area to preserve evidence. At around 10 a.m., 2 police cars pulled up in front of Chen Xiao Mei's house. The blaring sirens shattered the quiet of the small village. Curious villagers gathered around the entrance, whispering and speculating. Rumors spread quickly, casting an atmosphere of gloom and fear over the community. Clues at the scene and initial police conclusions. The murder scene took place in a single-story house owned by Chen Xiao Mei and her husband, Zhang Wangjin. It was known that Zhang Wangjin was working as a laborer at a steel factory in Jinan City. He frequently worked far from home and could only return for a few days occasionally. The couple had been married for nearly 2 years, and at the time, Chen Xiao Mei was about 3 months pregnant with their first child. When the incident occurred, Zhang Wangjin was away and was on his way home after receiving the devastating news. At the scene, Chen Xiao Mei's body was discovered under the bed, covered with a thick, light-colored blanket. When found, She was wearing relatively thin and tight-fitting clothes, but they were tidy, with no signs of tearing or unfastened buttons. The victim's body exhibited signs of rigor mortis, particularly in large muscle groups such as the jaw, neck, arms, and legs. On her right arm was a wound approximately 5 centimeters long, not very deep but bleeding significantly. The blood had dried and turned dark brown. Based on the wound's shape, police concluded it was inflicted with a sharp knife. The body showed no scratches or signs of struggle, nor were there fatal wounds or strangulation marks. However, forensic examiners noted petechial hemorrhages around the eyes, eyelids, and oral mucosa, indicating small blood vessels had burst due to compression of the neck or chest, preventing blood from circulating back to the heart and causing capillaries to rupture. The victim's fingertips, toes, and nose had a bluish tint, indicating prolonged oxygen deprivation. Lividity marks were clearly visible on areas subjected to gravity, such as the arms, legs, back, and buttocks. This suggested that the victim had been dead for at least 10 hours before the examination. From this, police estimated that Chen Xiao Mei was attacked on the evening of October 13th. The victim's tongue had bite marks and bruises, indicating she bit her tongue in panic while trying to breathe or resist. Her face had large bruises and faint handprints, leading forensic experts to suspect that the perpetrator suffocated her by covering her airways, resulting in mechanical asphyxiation. Upon examining the victim's genital area, the forensic team found multiple small bleeding abrasions, indicative of forceful trauma. Some pubic hairs were torn out, with a few strands caught in her underwear. Notably, traces of male semen were found in her vagina. These signs indicated that Chen Xiao Mei had been sexually assaulted before being murdered. After committing the crime, the perpetrator may have tidied the victim's clothing before placing the body under the bed to conceal it. Police did not find any suspicious fingerprints on the body. However, small drops of blood were discovered on the floor near the dressing table beside the bed. Some blood stains appeared wiped, leaving streaks within a 10 centimeters range. A pillow on the bed also had blood stains. Based on the shape of the stains, police speculated that the pillow may have been used by the perpetrator to clean blood from their hands, attempting to conceal evidence. Upon thorough inspection, the forensic team discovered a blood-stained fingerprint on the underside of the bedsheet, believed to be from the right index finger. On the dressing table near the bed, police found a black button-style mobile phone. Inside the dressing table drawer was a new piece of women's jewelry. The wardrobe in the bedroom had one door closed and one door open, with some clothes inexplicably displaced from their hangers. Faint shoe prints were discovered on the floor, but they were incomplete, making it difficult to extract information on size or type. Inside the wardrobe, police found an old handbag containing an ID wallet, but no cash. Apart from the bedroom, the other rooms in the house showed no signs of being searched or disturbed. Mr. Zhang, who discovered the incident, stated that the bedroom door had been locked from the outside. He pointed to a nail near the light switch, explaining that his daughter-in-law usually left the bedroom key there. Based on this information, police concluded that after committing the crime, the perpetrator took the key and carefully locked the door before leaving. Because Mr. Zhang had touched the door handle and lock to get inside, no useful fingerprints could be collected from them. Based on the scene, police initially speculated this was a sexual assault case. The front gate and main door showed no signs of forced entry, suggesting the perpetrator entered the house normally. Police proposed two hypotheses. 1. The perpetrator broke into the house and carried out the attack. 2. The perpetrator could have been someone known to the victim. Witness statements and suspicions about the victim's father-in-law. During the investigation, police learned that on the night of the murder, Zhang Wangjin, the victim's husband, had a phone conversation with his wife that lasted nearly 15 minutes. The call ended at 9:45 p.m. During the call, Xiao Mei mentioned she had been having trouble sleeping lately and often stayed up late watching TV. Before ending the call, she said she would lock the door and get ready for bed. A neighbor, Ms. Zhu, testified that she visited Xiao Mei that evening to watch TV together. The show ended around 9:35 p.m. During the show, Xiao Mei received a call from her husband and went to the bedroom to talk. Before leaving, Ms. Zhu was asked to turn off the TV and close the doors for Xiao Mei. Ms. Zhu closed both the main door and the front gate before leaving. According to collected information, the victim's phone was found on the dressing table next to an open jar of face cream. Blood droplets were concentrated on the floor near the dressing table. Police speculated that the perpetrator might have entered the room just after Xiao Mei ended her call. It's possible she was attacked while applying the cream, which would explain why the jar was left open. Apart from the blood-stained fingerprint on the bedsheet and the faint shoe prints on the floor, the forensic team did not find any additional clues. Police continued by interviewing Ms. Zhu, the neighbor living near the victim's house. She testified that she did not see any suspicious individuals near the area when she left Xiao Mei's house that evening. However, she admitted that the perpetrator could have been hiding or that she simply hadn't noticed. When she arrived home, about 50 meters away, she quickly turned off her lights and went to bed, hearing no unusual noises. The victim, Chen Xiao Mei, was 3 months pregnant, with her pregnancy visibly showing. Police concluded that for the perpetrator to act so cruelly despite her condition indicated a highly depraved individual with intense sexual urges and no compassion. Focusing on motives related to sexual assault, police noted that no rape cases had previously occurred in Tian Zang Village. The two houses closest to the victims were Ms. Zhu's and a woman named Ms. Wang's. Ms. Wang lived alone as her husband worked far away, but she was middle-aged. Compared to Ms. Wang, Xiao Mei, despite being pregnant, still retained youthful features. Police suspected that the perpetrator's actions were premeditated and that Xiao Mei was specifically targeted. Through neighbors' accounts, police gathered information about the relationship between Mr. Zhang, the victim's father-in-law, and Xiao Mei. Some people noted that Mr. Zhang showed excessive concern for his daughter-in-law, often siding with her and reprimanding his son. Recently, Mr. Zhang frequently visited Xiao Mei, bringing fruit and food, even going to the market and carefully preparing meals for her. Some viewed this as fatherly affection, while others suspected the relationship was not entirely innocent. When questioned, Zhang Wangjin, the victim's husband, acknowledged his father's fondness for Xiao Mei but didn't find it unusual. He explained that before marrying Xiao Mei, he had an unhappy marriage with a lazy and disrespectful ex-wife. The contrast between the two daughters-in-law made his father appreciate Xiao Mei even more. Nevertheless, police decided to interrogate Mr. Zhang to clarify the suspicions. Mr. Zhang insisted that his relationship with Xiao Mei was pure and respectful. He expressed his joy at her pregnancy and anticipation for his grandchild's birth. He explained that his wife had passed away 3 years ago, and he lived alone, denying any motive for such a brutal act. Although Mr. Zhang maintained his innocence, the lack of witnesses to corroborate his account led police to conduct thorough checks. Investigators compared the blood-stained fingerprint on the bedsheet with Mr. Zhang's fingerprints. The results did not match. To be certain, police conducted a DNA test on Mr. Zhang and compared it with the semen found in the victim's vagina. The results confirmed that Mr. Zhang was not the source of the semen, as the murder occurred at night. With no witnesses identifying any suspects and no other suspicious individuals found in the area, police decided to expand the interrogation process. They aimed to uncover new clues and verify other potential suspects in the case. The next suspect and the investigation at a standstill. Tian Zang Village is a peaceful rural village where residents primarily make their living through farming and livestock raising. In recent years, many young people have left the village to seek better opportunities in the city. As a result, the village is now mainly populated by women, children, the elderly, and middle-aged men. Among the men aged 18 to 60, the police identified a 37-year-old man named Ma Wenxi as particularly suspicious. Ma Wenxi worked as a construction laborer. On paper, he and his wife were still legally married, but they had not seen each other for nearly 2 years, due to his violent nature and frequent use of physical force to resolve problems. His wife left him and moved to the city with their daughter. Neglected by his family, Ma Wenxi spiraled into depravity. In his free time, he often drank alcohol with neighbors or by himself. He had a habit of making inappropriate remarks towards women, whether they were widows or happily married. Although Ma Wenxi and Chen Xiao Mei were not close, they knew each other because they lived nearby. Earlier this year, when Xiao Mei and her husband renovated their kitchen, they hired Ma Wenxi for the job. The victim's husband, Zhang Wangjin, told the police that during the 3 days of work, Ma Wenxi frequently teased Xiao Mei, even in his presence. For this reason, he did not have a good impression of Ma Wenxi. Given this information, authorities quickly turned their attention to Ma Wenxi. However, during the investigation, Ma Wenxi provided an alibi. On the night of October 13th, he was staying at a relative's house and fell asleep drunk, with no awareness of his surroundings. The expanded investigation did not yield the expected results, and the identity of the perpetrator remained a mystery. The mysterious death of Chen Xiao Mei, a woman 3 months pregnant, left the local community in deep anxiety, particularly young women. Women who had grown up strong and resilient in the village were now fearful and cautious. They avoided going out alone after dark and were meticulous about locking doors and windows. The prolonged investigation, with no new leads, placed immense pressure on law enforcement authorities. The second victim's family reports the perpetrator is the same person. On the afternoon of October 21st, a week after Chen Xiao Mei's death, the police received another report from a villager named Wang Qianxi, 36 years old. Mr. Wang reported that his 7-year-old daughter, Wang Xiaohua, had just been sexually assaulted. According to his account, after lunch that day, Mr. Wang and his wife went to work in the fields. Due to the heavy workload, they worked until nearly 6 p.m. Before leaving, they told their daughter Xiaohua to stay home and study, asking her grandmother to look after her, especially since a recent attack had just occurred in the village. However, an unexpected situation unfolded. While the grandmother was in the bathroom, Xiaohua went off somewhere. About 10 minutes later, the grandmother emerged but couldn't find Xiaohua. Afraid of being scolded by her son and daughter-in-law for not keeping an eye on the child, she started searching on her own. After more than half an hour without success, she cycled to the fields to inform Mr. Wang and his wife. Immediately, the three of them split up to search for Xiaohua in a state of anxiety and panic. Around 3 p.m., the family found Xiaohua running home. Her hair was disheveled, her clothes were intact, but her hands and feet were dirty, and her face was smeared with grime. A large handprint, as if from a strong slap, was clearly visible on her right cheek. Upon seeing her parents, Xiaohua burst into tears. Through her sobs, she recounted that a man had given her candy and lured her to a sugarcane field. Once there, he suddenly pushed her to the ground. The man stared at her with terrifying eyes and slapped her repeatedly when she did not comply with his demands. He then covered Xiaohua's mouth and pulled down her pants. She pointed to her genital area, explaining that he pressed on her and committed acts that caused her extreme pain. The family tried to comfort Xiaohua, but she continued to sob, panicked and frightened, unable to calm down. After receiving the report from Mr. Wang Qianxi's family, authorities immediately went to the house to investigate further. The family explained that after finding Xiaohua, they tried to pursue the perpetrator in the direction she indicated but found no suspicious individuals. Once Xiaohua calmed down, police interviewed her. However, because she was so young and terrified, She couldn't provide a detailed description of the assailant. She only remembered that he wore a hat, a mask, and had frightening, glaring eyes. Despite the limited clues, police decided to investigate thoroughly. They interviewed villagers near the area where the attack occurred, hoping to find useful information. The attack on Xiaohua took place between 2:30 p.m. and 3 p.m. that day. Unfortunately, most people were working in the fields at that time, making it difficult to locate witnesses. However, during the investigation, police received a crucial lead from Mrs. Zhuan, a scrap collector. Around 3 p.m., as she was pushing her bicycle away from a seller's house, she saw a man running quickly, glancing back as if being chased. Sensing something unusual, Mrs. Zhuan watched until the man disappeared. Mrs. Zhuan described the man as not very tall, wearing a hat, a mask, and ordinary work clothes. Due to the distance and his face being covered, she couldn't identify him or estimate his age. Her description matched Zhao Hua's account of the assailant, particularly the timing of the sighting. Despite this, finding a man with such a vague description remained a difficult task. Authorities expanded their search and interviewed more villagers around the area where Mrs. Zhuan saw the suspect. Eventually, they found 2 more witnesses who also saw a suspicious man heading towards Dongxian Village, a neighboring village to Tian Zang. In just 1 week, Tian Zang Village had experienced 2 serious sexual assaults, one resulting in the murder of Chen Xiao Mei, and the other in the assault of young Wang Xiaohua, who fortunately survived. Police began to suspect that the 2 cases were connected. To confirm this, they tested the semen samples collected from both Xiaohua and Chen Xiao Mei. The test results revealed that the semen in both victims belonged to the same individual. This confirmed that the person who assaulted and murdered Chen Xiao Mei was the same person who attacked Wang Xiaohua. Based on this conclusion, the Shanghe County Police decided to merge the 2 cases into one. They also allocated additional personnel to broaden the investigation and conduct widespread interrogations. New information from the victim's family. The suspect revealed. On November 22nd, 1 month after the attack on young Wang Xiaohua, the police received crucial information from the family of the first victim, Chen Xiao Mei. Xiao Mei's mother revealed that before marrying Zhang Wangjin, Xiao Mei had a deep relationship with a young man from Dongxian Village named Zhang Xiaojiang. Just 3 months after breaking up with Jiang, Xiao Mei began dating Zhang Wangjin and married him by the end of that year. When Jiang learned that Xiao Mei was getting married, he was furious. He confronted Xiao Mei multiple times, accusing her of being unfaithful. On Xiao Mei's wedding day, Zhang even showed up to cause a disturbance but was stopped by her relatives. Fortunately, the wedding proceeded smoothly. After Xiao Mei settled into married life, Zhang stopped bothering her. Xiao Mei's family heard rumors that Zhang had gotten married and was living a happy life, so they no longer thought about him. However, when police learned that the suspect in Zhao Hua's case had fled toward Dongxian Village, they immediately went to Zhang's home to investigate further. In Dongxian Village, police discovered that Zhang Xiaojiang had indeed been married and once enjoyed a happy life. However, at the end of last year, Zhang's wife passed away from a severe illness. Before her death, Zhang borrowed money from everywhere to pay for her treatment, even selling their house. After his wife's death, Zhang was left with overwhelming debt. In March of this year, Zhang's parents sold 2 pieces of land to help him pay off his debts. Once freed from his creditors, Zhang tried to rebuild his life by working as a porter at the market. However, within a short time, he fell into gambling. Over the past 3 months, Zhang had returned to live at his parents' home but was often absent. He spent most of his time drinking with friends and sometimes picking fights with passers-by. When police visited Zhang's home, they only found his parents. They explained that they could not control their son. Zhang came and went as he pleased, with no fixed schedule. They also could not recall where Zhang was or what he was doing on the nights of October 13th and October 21st. Police continued by questioning Zhang's group of friends. They reported that on the evening of October 13th, they had arranged to buy drinks near the lake. Zhang joined them but left around 8:30 p.m., saying he had something to do, when one of the friends teased him, asking, what could Zhang possibly be busy with? Zhang reacted irritably and snapped, "You'd better shut up." After that evening, Zhang continued to meet with his friends as usual, showing no signs of suspicion. They said the last time they saw Zhang was on the morning of October 21st. After that, he disappeared and hadn't been seen since. Testimony from the suspect's lover, the killer's identity exposed. During the investigation, police identified several locations frequented by Zhang Xiaojiang. In addition to gambling, Zhang often visited hostess karaoke bars. Recently, Zhang had been involved with a karaoke hostess named Lu Minyu at the Wangshi karaoke bar. For reasons unknown, Minyu was infatuated with Zhang. She even allowed him to stay overnight at her home and gave him money to spend. Upon receiving this information, police immediately went to Wangshi karaoke bar to meet Lu Minyu, Zhang's lover. Lu Minyu revealed that on the night of October 21st, Zhang called her, saying he had an urgent matter and needed to lay low for a while, but he had no money. Hearing his plea, Minyu transferred 5,000 yuan to Zhang's account. She recounted that during the call, Zhang's voice was hurried, and he instructed her not to contact him unless absolutely necessary. After receiving the money, Zhang immediately turned off his phone. Meanwhile, the DNA comparison results between the perpetrator's semen and a DNA sample taken from Zhang's toothbrush in his room came back. These results proved that Zhang Xiaojiang was the source of the semen found in both victims, Chen Xiao Mei and Wang Xiaohua. With this conclusive evidence, Zhang Xiaojiang became the prime suspect. Authorities issued a criminal arrest warrant for Zhang. The warrant was circulated widely, and a substantial reward was offered to encourage the public to provide helpful leads. Based on Lu Minyu's testimony about Zhang receiving 5,000 yuan and needing cash to escape, police coordinated with banks to monitor cash withdrawals. Records showed that at around 6 a.m. on October 22nd, Zhang withdrew money at an ATM in Weihai City. Investigators immediately contacted Weihai City Police for assistance in tracking Zhang Xiaojiang's whereabouts. On October 27th, Lu Minyu informed police that Zhang had contacted her again, asking for a large sum of money and instructing her to gather as much as possible. Minyu reported this to the police before transferring any money. Following police instructions, she sent Zhang 6,000 yuan. About 30 minutes after receiving the funds, Zhang withdrew the money at an ATM, once again in Weihai City. Weihai police coordinated closely with investigators to carry out a targeted search. On the morning of October 28th, a Weihai resident reported seeing a man matching the suspect's description loitering near a roadside eatery. After persistent efforts, police apprehended Zhang Xiaojiang on the night of October 28th and took him into custody. During the ride back to the station, Zhang was highly resistant, refusing to sit still, struggling, and kicking violently. Upon arrival, Zhang loudly accused the police of breaking the law and detaining him illegally. However, when confronted with the DNA evidence, Zhang Xiaojiang could no longer deny his guilt. Faced with irrefutable proof, he finally confessed to his crimes in full. A 5-year unfinished love, the root of the crime. Zhang Xiaojiang and Chen Xiao Mei once shared a deep relationship that lasted nearly 5 years. Wanting to provide Xiao Mei with a comfortable, worry-free life, Zhang decided to go to the city to build a career instead of marrying early. He left his girlfriend in their hometown and frequently sent her money to spend. Initially, their relationship remained strong. However, about a year later, Zhang heard rumors from his relatives that Xiao Mei was getting close to a recently divorced man named Zhang Wangjin, who lived in the same village. Though the information was unverified, Zhang grew resentful and jealous. frequently calling Xiao Mei to scold her. Distrusting his girlfriend, Zhang returned from the city to confront the situation. When he arrived at Xiao Mei's home, he saw Zhang Wangjin helping her parents harvest fruit. Although Xiao Mei and her family denied the rumors, Zhang stubbornly accused them of lying. In a fit of rage, Zhang attacked Zhang Wangjin and Xiao Mei. A hard blow caused Xiao Mei to fall and break her right arm, which had to be bandaged. After the incident, instead of apologizing or showing concern, Zhang spread rumors that Xiao Mei had betrayed him. Recognizing Zhang's violent nature, Xiao Mei decided to end the relationship. At that time, Zhang's friends advised him to move on. Although he still loved her, Zhang ended the relationship out of pride. Shortly after the breakup, Xiao Mei married Zhang Wangjin. This convinced Zhang that the previous rumors were true. Feeling bitter and humiliated, he sought ways to harass the couple. Eventually, Zhang chose to leave the village and start a new life elsewhere to forget the past. Zhang's life briefly saw happiness when he got married. However, at the end of last year, his wife passed away from a severe illness. To save her, Zhang borrowed money everywhere, even selling their house. After his wife's death, Zhang was burdened with overwhelming debt and despair. The loneliness and pressure drove Zhang into recklessness and vice. After his parents helped pay off his debts, Zhang returned to live in his hometown. He spent his days with idle youths, drinking, gambling, and visiting prostitutes. During this period, he began a relationship with Lu Minyu, a hostess at the Wangshi karaoke bar. The satisfaction of winning over a beautiful and capable woman boosted his ego. However, when he learned that Xiao Mei was happily married and pregnant with Zhang Wangjin's child, his jealousy reignited. The breaking point came during a drunken night when his friends mocked his past, teasing that despite his sincerity, he had ended up with a pair of long horns, a metaphor for being cheated on. Their jibes about Zhang being poor, incompetent, and inferior in appearance provoked him deeply. His friends claimed that Xiao Mei had refused to be intimate with him because she never truly loved him, only used him for his money before leaving him for someone else. The more Zhang thought about it, the more he believed his friends were right. His hatred and jealousy boiled over, and he conceived the idea of taking revenge on Xiao Mei. The fateful night and the severe sentence for the killer. On the night of October 13th, after drinking with his friends, Zhang showed Zhang's resentment over Chen Xiao Mei's perceived betrayal resurfaced. The intoxication intensified his desire for revenge. Zhang left his group early, took a switchblade, and snuck into Xiao Mei's house. Taking advantage of the empty house, Zhang broke into Xiao Mei's bedroom. When he entered, Xiao Mei was applying face cream. Hearing a noise, she turned around and was immediately threatened by Zhang with the knife, causing a minor injury to her hand. Initially, Zhang planned only to cause Xiao Mei to miscarry as revenge. However, under the bedroom's light, seeing her beautiful face and attractive figure in thin, sheer clothing, his lust took over. He threatened her, forcing her onto the bed and ordering her to stay quiet or face death. Having no other choice, Xiao Mei complied, pleading for her life. Zhang forced her to undress and violently assaulted her. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't dare resist. At that moment, a motorcycle passed by outside. In a desperate hope to be saved, Xiao Mei screamed for help, panicking that his crime would be discovered. Zhang immediately covered her mouth and nose. When he calmed down, he realized she was dead. Terrified, Zhang pulled her clothes back on, placed her body under the bed, and covered it with a blanket. He took the key hanging on a nail near the light switch, locked the door from the outside, and left. To mislead the investigation, Zhang rifled through her wardrobe and took all the cash from her wallet. For the next 7 days, Zhang acted calmly, as if nothing had happened. On October 21st, he secretly returned to Tian Zang Village to check on the police investigation. On a deserted road, He saw a young girl walking alone in shorts and a short shirt. His lust surged again, and he lured her with candy before attacking her. After committing these two horrific crimes, Zhang felt frightened and decided to flee until his capture by police on October 28th. Zhang Xiaojiang always believed that Xiao Mei had betrayed him during their relationship. However, Xiao Mei's family denied this. They explained that after his divorce, Zhang Wangjin had taken the initiative to help Xiao Mei, even though he knew she was in a relationship. Although Xiao Mei did not accept Wang Jin's affections, she also did not refuse his help, unintentionally giving him hope and the determination to pursue her. Zhang Xiaojiang was sentenced to death for the crimes of murder and rape. His brutal actions caused immense pain to multiple families and sparked outrage in the community. This case also triggered mixed reactions from the public. Most believed Zhang Xiaojiang deserved the death penalty for his atrocities. Others criticized Chen Xiao Mei, suggesting that her indecisiveness in the past indirectly led to this tragedy. However, regardless of the reasons, nothing can justify the monstrous crimes committed by Zhang Xiaojiang. What do you think of the perpetrator in today's case? Leave a comment below to join the discussion with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Decoder Box channel to stay updated on intriguing cases around the world. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.